Just a quick update. I ended up going to my GP yesterday. There were some symptoms I hadn't talked about because if they turned out to be really serious, I didn't kind of want to treat them with the kind of light treatment that I'm giving here. What had been happening over the past week is I'm somebody who has low blood pressure. Like my family, that's how we are. A lot of us have low blood pressure, low pulse, and cold body temperature. So like the joke is like according to CSI, like we've all been dead for 3 hours anyway. And so I'm always used to like taking it a little easy if I go from like a long time lying down or seated position to standing up. I've trained myself since I was a kid. Just get up a little bit slow and you'll be fine. Well, no matter what, even if I was in like a regular seated position, hadn't been lying down, for the past week I've been getting extremely dizzy and lightheaded. Like absolutely seeing stars, and having to like hang on to things to stay up. And then also I was feeling like a kind of anxiety when I woke up, but it's not like my usual like garbage person anxiety. Inside my brain, for like once in my life, nothing was going on. Like I wasn't worrying about things. There's just nothing going on. So I just had like this jolt of horrible adrenaline and cortisol. And we tested, my cortisol levels are and have been high. Anyway, so I wrote to the surgeon. Oh, and also I was having, and I think I told you, like, it was kind of like a disconcerting feeling here, but it was also accompanied by getting really winded, really tired, exhausted, and like, I could still take a full breath. I'm still doing, people who've had surgery will know what I'm talking about, the, what are they called? Incentive spirometer, right? The little machine, plastic guy that you breathe into and you have to make sure that you're taking kind of full breaths in and out. I can do it, but it's a lot more work. So, you know, you read, and I don't like go to like WebMD for my symptoms, like, cause by the way, it's always like, you're gonna die. So I was, I read papers and I talk to surgeons and other people who've had this, but basically anything is possible as a complication of this surgery because it is pretty mega, even if it seems like, oh, it's only 2 hours and they do it every day. Where it is, like this was not like my knee scope where like the next day afterward, I just felt fine except my knee was sore. Anyway, so all of these symptoms can be anything. It can be cardiac problems. It can be, parasympathetic nervous problems. It can just be like super anxiety can give you all these things. Anyway, my surgeon was like, it's too nonspecific, go to your GP. So I went to her, and so they do seem to think, oh, and I also emailed this cellist who has had the exact same thing, although he had 2 of these surgeries. The ribs started growing back. Anyway, and he was like, my PT said when I started working out my brachial plexus area, the PT actually said it can make me pass out because since there's so much nerve and artery and vein, and it's like, it's all right here, right? It's close to like your spinal cord. It's feeding into your neck, your brain stem, your heart, your lungs. Again, this is not like a knee scope. This is like close to everything that keeps you alive. That your body, in the effort to be protective, and also nerves are supposed to alert you, right, to things that are distressing, painful, dangerous. So, what can happen if you overexert yourself is that your nervous system goes into overdrive, and it can send all kinds of pain. It can suppress certain things, and for me, it was lowering my blood pressure further when I was having these attacks. I was not having one of these attacks in the doctor's office, and my blood pressure was just where it should be when I was lying down, sitting up, and standing. But even when I was in there, like my heart rate was a lot higher. I had a high temperature. Sweat was absolutely pouring off of me. Like, an airplane when like I can't remember his name, but like he's like, that was me. Like I could hear the sweat actually dripping on the paper. and just my body went into this kind of overdrive. And my GP and her nurse just both looked at me and they're like, you have to slow down. You are not okay. Your body is not healed. Judging from what everything looks like, I think you have an inflammatory process going on in the area. And I know you want to be healed and you're type A and you're productive. And they're like, you're not cleared for full activity. And you should rest. And it should probably be bed rest. And if you walk, it should be slowly and not far. I mean, you could kind of see it coming, right? Like, even if you're not part of like my website community, if you're just seeing me on YouTube and don't really know me, you can tell I'm a maniac. Like, I just need to keep doing things. The guy who gave me this diagnosis, he described me. He's like, you remind me very much of her golden retriever. You know, like she was really just not very happy. And then we just started putting some weights on her and we started having her carry water bottles around the house. And because she had a job and a purpose, she felt much better and she slept better. And she's like, the guy who diagnosed me was like, you need to be doing things and you especially need to be playing the cello because that's your purpose. That's what you do. And so what he had me do at that point was, even though I was like in all kinds of pain, he put me on this regimen of playing just a little tiny bit every single day. And that was just like, so you don't lose touch with this thing that is not just what I do, but it's very much wrapped up in who I am. Anyway, so although it makes a lot of sense for me, it's going to take a ton of self-discipline for me to not be as active. And also, anybody who works from home knows that home turns into work. So like, I can do the things. So right now I'm like reviewing some music for strings. I am working on 2 books. I'm working on some short stories. They're not very good, but whatever. But you know, I'm doing, some lessons. I'm doing some Skype consultations. But also, when I'm not doing those things, I can look around and just be like, well, I have to do laundry. I have to clean out the cabinets. I have to do all these things. I have to run things back and forth to the women's shelter and do these donations. And like, that sounds like nothing, right? All of those things, though, actually end up sapping me of energy. I tell you, I picked up a pan the other day and I was not the same person for like 2 hours afterward. So there are people in the comments in my last video and a couple emails, people saying like, I'm where you are, or a little bit after where you are post-operatively, and like they just sent me back to work. Some people, by the way, get this surgery and their physicians do not even give them physical therapy. What? What is that? This is insane. It is insane. Anyway, and so it's funny though, because everything is actually physical. I think we can argue that what I do is not particularly difficult in terms of like physical stress, right? I'm sitting here typing a little bit of this. We can see this is like, it's not a fun position to hold for long periods of time, but like it moves. I can't even imagine people, and most people who get this from work are doing things like stocking shelves. Construction workers get this a lot. My gig is nothing compared to construction workers. Garbage men apparently get this a ton. I'm trying to think. Mechanics, especially aircraft mechanics, get this a lot. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're watching this and you are either having this surgery or have had this surgery or are contemplating it, it might just be that returning to work will actually prolong the recovery time. And that just is like another example of like the bourgeois crap, right? Like, I'm very lucky to have a partner who can support me. And even then, things are actually kind of tight. Things look really nice here. We just got a bill for $3,000 in the mail, and there are more coming from this. I made $300 last month, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. Anyway, it's just got to be a real consideration. Like, it's going to take a long time. I haven't heard of anybody being able to like fully return after 3 months, which is what a lot of the literature says. I'm like, who are these people who return after 3 months? Like, you're going to have to make allowances for yourself. Ice and heat, rest, changing of how you sit, stand, drive, all those things. Anyway, that's just it's not a little update. It's actually huge. This is 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Over sharing as usual. Anyway, but keep the emails and comments coming. If you actually really want to talk to me, just say, like, let's set up a time, because I'm happy to talk in detail about anything you absolutely want. This has been amazing, actually, to meet so many people who have had very similar experiences. It makes me feel less lonely, and also that maybe our suffering is not for nothing. What if we can get kind of a consensus on this? What if we can actually write something up that might change the way this is treated or diagnosed? I don't know. Just trying to find something hopeful, because it's hard. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. I will see you guys next Monday.